The number 9. What does this 9 represent? 9 means different things to different people. It takes 9 months for a baby to grow full term. And if we're looking at years, over a span of 9 years, a lot can change in politics and history. 9 years ago, Barack Obama was president. Then we had Trump, then came COVID, and then Biden, and now we're electing a president again. So yeah, a lot can change over 9 years. But the dots on this slide here represent the 9 years a child has in elementary school and middle school. In theory, a lot of progress should happen. In my last year of leadership, I decided to put my foot into high schools. I didn't have a lot of experience there. But why did I do this? Simply because I believe that high schools are a good cumulative way to check on the health of the K-12 district. If the K-8 pathway is healthy, then high school should flourish. But here's what I found. In one southeastern state, between 33% and 36% of high school graduates are considered college ready, meaning they scored a 21 or higher on the ACT. It makes you think. Those 33% of kids that are proficient in 4th grade and then are proficient in 8th grade, I wonder if they're the same children that are proficient in 12th grade. In which case, it means we make very little progress at all. And even though only 33 to 36% of graduates are college ready, nearly 90% of kids graduate from high school on time. What I found is this: our system is sick. There's misalignment, especially in urban schools. And we have good guys like Mr. Johnson here, who's a high school teacher getting another PhD. He's a strong teacher, but guys like this man leave urban high schools all the time, and we're going to answer the question, why do they leave? Let's dive in. Alright, first let's look at the academics and the jobs of elementary schools. The elementary school has one job, and that's to prepare kids to enter middle school at grade level in terms of academics, habits, and character so that they're more independent. As I like to say, to pass the bridge from elementary school to middle school, there's a toll to pay. They have to be at standard in reading and math, have internalized, memorized knowledge in science and social studies, be able to work independently on a task for a long period of time, follow rules and norms, bounce back from setbacks. But instead of paying a toll, they all, or I should say most, are passed through toll-free. It's a huge disservice. Importantly, many of these kiddos never get out of Kohlberg's pre-conventional stage of moral development. They're still reliant on rewards and punishment, even at 5th grade. It's similar from the passage from middle school to high school. Now, the job of the middle school is mastery of content in math, reading, writing, science, and social studies. Be able to write a complete essay without errors, conduct research, and do some basic MLA citations. Maybe have some experience on a PSAT or other assessment. Be able to manage time to complete your homework, to play sports, to do theater. Don't require extrinsic rewards like candy or stickers or prizes. Maybe start thinking about a vision for the child's life. Schools shouldn't be spending a ton of money on school-wide behavior systems. But again, as students pass from middle school to high school, they don't pay the toll. Many are let through toll-free. It also creates a new privilege of entitlement, getting something for little or no effort. Again, a lot happens in 9 years, but not in schools. The third of our kids who are at grade level in 4th grade may be the same kids who are at grade level in 8th grade and in 12th. Also, many middle school students still require extrinsic rewards, candy, and homework sticker charts just to do the bare minimum. In other words, they're still stuck in Kohlberg's pre-conventional stage of moral development. So now, let's get to Mr. Johnson. Figure out why guys like Mr. Johnson leave urban schools. Now, Mr. Johnson is a tried and true content specialist with success in teaching both history and is now getting his PhD in economics. Guys like Mr. Johnson have expectations that kids can read, they can do homework, be independent, they're not reliant on candy, that they follow norms and have basic knowledge and respect. That's not a high bar. Those are very reasonable expectations, especially for young people who are near voting age. And yet, a lot of students are like Callie here, who wants to be an influencer, has self-diagnosed anxiety, is triggered by homework, and needs brain breaks in addition to completing homework for a reward. And the district makes a policy asking Mr. Johnson to grade leniently, to observe a grading floor policy so that GPAs are high, even inflated, regardless of actual mastery. And while he's excited to teach content, he realizes that the kids in high school are just high schoolers in age only. They haven't mastered the academics, habits, or moral development necessary for his class. And this guy's not spending his afternoons in professional development to learn classroom management. The former 9 years of education need to do a better job. So he leaves, and he finds a job elsewhere, likely in a high-paying suburb where the kids are actually prepared. And as a solution, in comes Miss Smith, the hip music major, uncertified teacher who needs a job. And she dresses like a student because dressing professionally, she believes, is a microaggression against the kids because dressing formally is too authoritative and therefore it's triggering. And the principal is a real nice guy, but if I were him, I'd actually be yelling down at my elementary school and middle school colleagues to send kids prepared for high school. But he won't. He'll keep the narrative that the home life is to blame when the kids have actually been in the system for 9 years. But what really drives me crazy are the charter school networks that put up high school haphazardly. I've seen this happen a lot across the country, and honestly, these are some of the smartest people I've ever known. They usually start off with elementary schools and middle schools, and then eventually, a high school just happens. Not a ton of design or thought goes into it. And the irony is, we expect teachers to do backwards planning with the end in mind. So shouldn't K-12 charter networks, shouldn't K-12 districts plan their organizations with the same end in mind? Start with the vision of the high school, then design backwards the middle school, then design backwards the elementary school to prepare kids for that final vision of the rigorous high school before adulthood. It's not rocket science, but it's not well done. 9 dots for each year a kid is in school before entering high school. A lot can happen politically and historically, but it seems that little progress is made with our students. Are there any gaps here that pay? Are there any gaps that could have been prevented? What's the economic incentive to fill them so that kids do well? Well, let's take a look. The academic gaps beget a tutoring industry. Ignoring frameworks like Kohlberg's framework for moral development creates an SEL PBIS behavior management industry. The gap created by not graduating students who are college ready lengthens college and creates a new department of remedial studies for incoming freshmen. There's also money spent on teacher recruiting because high quality teachers go where kids are prepared. Money is spent on PD and teacher coaches to close those gaps. So yeah, of course there are gaps to be filled because the first 9 years didn't get the job done. And look at how the educational consulting industry is growing. More gaps, more money. Any ways to exercise courage? Yep. High school principals and staff, don't be nice. Demand that colleagues in the district send students who are prepared. When you get students, focus on freshmen and sophomores. Ensure that they're self-sufficient and independent, that they can research, write, etc. Don't rely on candy. Get them caught up. For elementary schools and middle schools, if a consultant or district official advises you to do something that doesn't make sense, tell the person it's BS, or find a district that has better sense. Also, elementary schools, focus just on preparing kids for middle school. In middle schools, just prepare kids for high school. Folks, the courage gap is the only gap that consultants cannot fix. So get loud when necessary, because the last few years, there have been people who've been self-censoring and others who've brought bad ideas into the world. The potential to change K-12 is hidden in your silence, and now it's time to talk.